welcome to Underpowered Podcast, a gaming podcast where we battle our backlog, revealing what is worth your time, money, and energy. This is episode number 24. I'm Shelby Stokes, and on the cast today we have co-host Casey Cool.
Hello.
And joining us for the first time, Twitch streamer Dad's First Time. Hello. And also, I mentioned it was episode 24. Dyslexia strikes again. It's episode 42.
There it is. Okay.
We've done 42 of these,
Okay.
and dyslexia is real, folks.
Okay, sorry. I know. We all have our struggles. I was gonna let it go, maybe make you retake it, but I'm gonna keep that in because people need to humanize you a little bit.
What I learned at a young age is to own the dyslexia, bring light to it, and move on. It happens.
That's what I do with my ADHD personally. So we're the perfect pair, right? We make almost one functioning human.
I remember not too long ago doing episode 24 with you guys, and flash forward, we're already on episode 42.
Yeah, everyone
Time
can go
flies.
back. He's been on since the middle. It's continuity. It's canon now.
That's cool. Well, thanks for being with us tonight, Dad's First Time.
Thanks for having me.
So, can you tell your audience what you do for us? Where they can find you? What you like to do?
That's a heavy question. Okay, so you guys. All right. So initially, you can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Dad's First Time.
Okay.
That's one ST, not FIRST. I am a game show host, talk show host, gamer, and stream coach all in one. So I have a calendar of events set monthly. You'll catch me playing games about 3 to 4 times a month. You'll catch my 100% unique and original game shows created by me. And I host other streamers and put them through some ridiculous challenges, whether it be video games, art challenges, improv, comedy, the works. I'm also part of a 4-man improv group, and we call ourselves a 4-man challenge, where we challenge each other to do anything under the sun, honestly, from
That's cool.
rap battles to singing Disney songs to magic tricks to trying to beat a game in 5 minutes, all sorts of things.
That's fun.
And I'm also, talk show host, stream coach. So on my talk shows, I'll talk about either tough topics, popular topics, hot topics, difficult ones. And then stream coaching, I give branding advice, marketing advice, not just for Twitch, but for all social media. So a mixed bag, but a good variety. It's like so what is that like snack mix that you get?
Yeah, the with the little Cheetos, with the little Doritos, right? Let me ask you this too, though. You're super busy. You stream, you do all these different things. You're also a dad.
Yes.
And I know I've seen you talk about being homeschool dad because of the vid that's going around for everybody. So how do you manage your time? Because I would message you over Twitter. That's how we got in touch, and you were nice enough to reply. You work a full-time job as well too, right?
I do. I work about 60 hours a week, with 2-hour travel both ways. So that's every day I'm working about 14 to 16 hours between travel and work.
Wow.
Where I find the time, I don't sleep. I sleep about 3 hours a night, 2 to 3 hours a night.
Okay.
And then once a month, maybe I'll do a good, nice long hibernating session where I'll wake up at 4 in the afternoon on my day off. But when I'm at work, I have a laptop. I have my personal laptop and I have my work computer. In between pockets of downtime, I will do work on my laptop for either streaming, or I'll go on social media. I'll schedule posts. I'll schedule them in advance too for the week. Or I will I'll remote log into my home computer here and do some video edits. I'll do some graphic design for upcoming things. I'll edit some photos for Instagram. So I find pockets of time here and there. And then anytime I come up with an idea, I have a notepad with me at work that I just jot down every single idea that comes in my mind randomly, and then I'll try to implement it. So the other part of my stream, I coined myself the most interactive, innovative streamer on Twitch, meaning the channel points that you see. There are things that my channel points will do that you won't see anywhere else yet. And a lot of those come from ideas I just happen to jot down, or I'll see an ad on a website, or I'll see a commercial, or somebody will say something and I go, I can make that into a channel point.
The one that's really been catching my eye too that you've been doing is the unpopular opinion streams. I think that's very important to have on Twitch because a lot of people don't like to hear the hard truths sometimes.
Yeah. And it's not even going to just be about Twitch. It's going to start talking about topics on Twitch, but there's a YouTube show and there's a Twitch live show. So sometimes if you're lucky, the YouTube show will be an edited version of the live show, but for the most part, it's its own show, either based on a live show that we do or based on something totally different. So I'll be doing unpopular opinions about anime, wrestling, current events, music, all sorts of things.
See, I love the hustle. I love the drive, and I also like that you're in the same. So when did you start doing the stream? That's what I'd like to know too. How long have you been at this?
April 2020 was my April 6th, 2020.
I think we started the podcast when I first started seeing you, because there was another podcast, the Super Smash Pods. They're not around anymore, and I
think I was on one of those shows too.
Yes, and I really like those guys, and I don't know what happened to them, but I really enjoyed your show with them, and I was like, oh, I gotta get this guy on, but I wanted us to get a lot better. And you kind of embrace what we said. Like I said to Shelby when we started this, I'd regret not doing it. Like we have time, but you are taking it to a new level with the 3 hours of sleep. I could not function. You are the man. How much caffeine do you have a day? Let's I want to hear those numbers.
Yeah, I don't drink coffee. I don't drink. I live a very, very healthy, clean lifestyle. I also like work out at least for an hour to an hour and a half a day. Today I did private Pilates. So
nice. My wife loves Pilates. I'm not trying to hate. That's my wife's favorite workout.
Look, Pilates is made for dancers, Olympians, and athletes that are rehabbing injuries. And being a dad of two, you go through a lot of injuries. You go through your fair share. I got one right before, or either right before or right after the new year from one of my sons. And definitely need the rehab.
So you have the two boys. What are their ages?
They are 5 and 4.
5 and 4. So my son is 5 and my daughter's 2, and Shelby has a 4. He's a girl dad. Shelby, what are your 4 and 2? It's
4 and 2. Yeah, 4 and 2. I kind of wanted to know more about this injury that you got, Dad's first time.
So I'm an old school wrestling fan. So here's a fun little backstory.
Okay.
If you couldn't tell, so some of my channel points on my stream, and there are going to be more coming out. There's the Randy Orton RKO that Randy will, like that old meme.
Yeah, the RKO where he's running. Yeah,
right. So he'll RKO me out of nowhere. There's a Shawn Michaels Sweet Chin music. I got the Macho Man elbow drop. Stone Cold Stunner's coming. People's Elbows coming, and then a really special one is coming. I also have I don't know if you've seen it, the cutaway of where I cut myself in the ring with the Undertaker.
No, that's awesome though.
All right, I'll send you guys.
Yeah,
I'll send you guys that clip so you can see. It's I warp back into the 80s. I'm in the ring with 1994 or 1993 Undertaker.
Nice.
So I'm an old school wrestling fan, and my boys, because of that, they love wrestling because of me, because I wrestle them.
Of course.
But the thing is with them is that they now randomly will wrestle me at any given point in time.
It's on as soon as you're on the floor. I've learned that with my son. Like if I'm on the floor,
right?
It's game time.
Yeah, I was on the sofa, sitting on the sofa, and my 4-year-old just decided to grab me from behind, like just trying to choke me out, while my 5-year-old, who's all legs, decided to kick me towards my chest. So I turned and I got my neck wrenched back, and I got a foot to the chest. Right. And I can tell you this right now, I have never been so more proud of my boys. Yeah, I was like, you injured dad. This is the first. This is the first, I'm sure, of many. But remember this day, sons. This is the day where
this is your first win.
Yes.
And it'll be your only one for a while now. Now I'm training.
So does this mean you will never be able to make your way through a parking lot with your family again? Because I feel like that's where a lot of the wrestling matches happened in the 90s, right?
I'm sure we'll have lots of backstage brawls just randomly.
Are you going to teach them the art? Because they're a tag team, apparently. You have to go Dudley Boys, I feel like, and teach them the 3D, and maybe have them put you through a table next.
Okay. If they were a tandem tag team, I would compare them more so to the Heart Foundation.
Oh, wow.
My 4-year-old is all brute strength. And my 5-year-old is all technical, want to wrap his lanky body around you and put you in all these holes, and they haven't hit that hardcore part yet, but they're starting to incorporate weapons in their wrestling routine. So we'll see.
You've hidden all the folding chairs in your house?
Yes, they're all gone.
They're actually all in their room too, but don't tell them that.
Okay, good.
That's the best place to hide them. They'll never find them.
Oh man, I've been tempted to show my son wrestling, like the WWE, WWF, but I know he'll go nuts over it, and it would be on every day. And then I've been watching a little bit of AEW, right? That's what it is, right? Where Chris Jericho is now. And I really like that because that gives you that old WCW Nitro vibe a bit to me. I'm like, all right, this is cool. But Okay, so you watch with your boys watch wrestling, so they have favorites, I'm sure.
I think they technically do, yeah, because they were playing with the wrestling figures before they were watching wrestling, and so they're able to identify a lot of the wrestlers. And I have a case of like just old school figures. It's the new line, but all the legends. I probably have, I don't even want to count. I'm gonna say probably more than 200, probably close to 300.
There you go.
In that case, and that doesn't even count the ones that are still in box. So they get to see them all the time. You know, they'll ask questions like, "Who's this? Who's this?" And they can identify. Identify the characters. Even if I have multiples, they can identify the different outfits.
You have a love for wrestling. What wrestling games do you play? Because I know the new ones aren't great. So what do you think is the best wrestling game?
The best wrestling game of all time. Okay. Well,
yeah. Because I have an answer, and I think you might.
Everybody says No Mercy is, and I disagree. For two reasons. Because I remember when WCW NWO World Tour came out, and to me that was the innovation. So to me, and because it was like the WCW's NWO like first real good game where I can beat all those characters, to me that game meant more than No Mercy and WrestleMania 2000 before it. But that doesn't mean I think that's the best wrestling game of all time either. I'm gonna go. The game I probably pumped the most hours into, it's a tie between Here Comes the Pain and WrestleFest, WWF WrestleFest, because I probably spent half my life and almost all of my quarters playing that game as Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior, the tag team, trying to get my way to the Legion of Doom and losing every single time. But that game epitomized the 80s. It was one like in the 90s. I was like WrestleMania, the arcade game, and then In Your House. Yeah, that's I'll take that. I mean, look,
that's totally coming to mind for me. Like when I was younger, I poured hours and hours into that game on Sega at my neighbor's house.
I remember WrestleMania, the arcade game. I used to love the old WrestleMania theme song. And back then, before MP3s were a thing, they weren't selling that song on CDs anywhere. So I would create fake wrestling matches in my house when I was a kid.
As you do.
Right, yeah, and I would turn on that game specifically for the WrestleMania arcade theme song because it just loops in the intro, and I would pretend to be Mean Gene Okerlund, or pretend to be Jim Ross or Jerry the King Lawler, or my favorite duo was Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura growing up. So I would do that. So I would do all sorts of things just with that one intro. I think the starting screen got more playtime than me ever playing that game whatsoever.
This is before MP3s, kids, where you could just go to YouTube and pull up a track and have it over and over.
Yeah, this is when a 28.8K modem was the new thing for the internet.
Play some wrestling. What I saw you streaming. What have you been streaming lately on your channel? I stream
a variety. So I stream games I'm good at, and I stream games I'm bad at. I do play a lot of wrestling games. I don't know if you guys know the website cause.ws, like CAWS. So it's like the major creator wrestler site for all wrestling games since like SmackDown versus Raw, the first one. And here's a little history fact. I was the first ever featured creator wrestler creator on their site. I was the first ever spotlight feature for them. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so I would love to play more wrestling games, but they just suck now. So now I just play whatever's laying around the house because dads can't finish games. Period.
Well, that's what this podcast is about, right? Yeah, I know. I hear you.
You started 3 hours into it. That's about as much time as that game is going to get. I've got to go back to something else now.
Right.
Is there anything occupying your headspace in terms of games you've been playing recently?
I want to finish Ghost of Tsushima because it's a beautiful game. I want to finish it. I just finished Red Dead Redemption 2 like a couple months ago after owning it for years.
Same with Shelby.
Yeah, and I loved that game, and I was afraid to end it, but I had to. I'm still waiting. I've played I have the last Tomb Raider, and I've played the first two, so I want to finish that one too. I haven't even opened the box on that. I just realized I have the Star Wars game too that came out recently. What's the name of that one?
Fallen Order, Jedi Fallen Order, and it just got a Xbox PS5 update today too, an Xbox X Series PS5 update today too. So it's nice and shiny if you have that system.
I don't, sadly.
Not yet. I saw you too. You're playing Naruto.
I was playing Naruto.
Saw that.
I used to be a competitive player in that. I used to be really good in that game.
Oh, okay. Who was your guy?
Ooh.
I used to play Naruto back on the
Ooh.
360 era. Not the. It was the second entry of it where it was the first with the online battling system, where Daedra was basically everybody. If you played him online, you knew you were gonna get cheesed.
Oh, you're talking about Ultimate Ninja Storm 2, where he just spammed
Yes.
the square
Yes.
bars.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
somebody tried to do that to me last night, and they learned their lesson quick. No,
Yeah.
but I remember it was Deidara and it was
Daedra,
Chio.
yeah.
If you were Chio and her puppets, you could not touch her whatsoever. Her puppets would own the night. I've been playing the
Itachi
series.
players got really good at stopping that. Yeah.
I've been playing the series since Ultimate Ninja 1. I used to actually import the Japanese games.
Oh wow.
So I was a big fan of it.
Did you play Shinobi Strikers at all?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's the one that came out in the middle. It's like my understanding is it's Naruto's version of Xenoverse, where you can make a character.
Oh right, yeah, that's the last one. Yeah, no, definitely not.
Okay, that one seems interesting to me. I was gonna say
I have the trilogy on my Switch, and I've always talked to Shelby. Like, it's on my backlog, and eventually I'm gonna run through all three, just because of the Storm, Naruto 1, 2, 3, and then now I have to do 4. I feel like I'd have to buy the 4th one, right? I couldn't just do
4 is
the 3.
fantastic. I will tell you
Is
this.
it?
Don't watch the
Okay.
anime. Play all 4 of those games. You will never need the anime.
That's what I was trying to tell him. If he wanted to get like a quick lesson with One Piece, the One Piece Warriors 4 could give him a quick. Yeah, those games, they do such a beautiful job. Bandai
Kills it
They
on
do.
those.
I wish One Piece didn't have like it has that old battle system. There was that like that.
The
game-
Dynasty Warrior.
Yeah, like the Dynasty Warrior battle system.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. I love One Piece, but that's the only thing. It's just this hordes of enemies coming at you and like
Yes.
sections as you continue through the level.
Yeah, it's that to me. It's the evolution of a beat 'em up. You know, where like you think Final Fight
Or Streets of Rage, right?
Now the other game you were playing that I saw was a really weird one called Space Court.
What is that?
Space Court.
Space
Yeah.
Court. Yeah. So okay, here's another little. This is a fun backstory too. So I used to love listening to this podcast called Team Tiger Awesome. I don't know if you guys have heard of
Okay.
them. So Team Tiger Awesome, they used to be part of the Jericho Network, which is run by Chris Jericho, who was in AWE. They're like the film and media guys. They've worked with him on a couple like film projects. But they're hilarious, you know, and they've disbanded now, sadly. But one of the guys, he continued doing podcasts like in a form of a fake radio show called Night Drive, and I'm a part of his Discord. He's actually one of my affiliates too.
Is it awesome?
Yeah, and he's way more popular than me though, which is a good thing because you know that'll be a good
Right.
a good connect for the
Opportunity
future.
for growth.
you know.
Growth. Right.
But he in his Discord. One of the original Team Tiger Awesome guys and myself, we haven't posted in a while, so we both posted something at the same. So one of the guys looks like Pedro Pascal, the Mandalorian. He looks like just like the actor. So I put a side by I had like a side by side comparison. I was like twins, right? And then that same guy who hasn't posted in a while, who's part of the team, he was like, "Yeah, I've heard that before." So the guy who runs Night Drive, he was like, "Oh, look, 2 ghosts came out of nowhere," and somehow that led into Space Court, a conversation about how Space Court is this like unsung hit of a game that nobody's ever heard of that's on sale on Steam. And he was like, it'd be great if somebody would stream this. And it was like a little nudge at me because nobody in his Discord streams except for me. So I was like, okay, all right, I'll try it out. I'll see how funny it is. And I gotta say, it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's like a weird. It makes me think of like what's that Hypnospace Outlaw that came out last year, where that weird kind of like early '90s internet art type kind of graphics to it, right? And then is it a court procedural? Like I only got, I was like in and out because I had to do something.
So aliens from different planets come to your chambers to request either requisitions about other planets, about other species. They just come to you with their problems, basically, and they want you to rule in their favor over the galaxy. And it's like one whole tying story. Like you don't realize it, and it goes from Monday to Friday. It's a Monday to Friday shift, 9 to 5.
Okay.
And you don't realize how well woven the story is until about Thursday. When you get to Thursday, and then you realize some of the decisions you made for one race affected another race that they didn't even mention. So it's like it'll be like species versus this species, or like this planet has invaded this planet, and you make a decision, and then based off of those conversations, you realize you made this decision. It now affects the third planet, and then the third planet comes to you going, hey, wait a minute, I thought we requisitioned for this. Why is this planet allowed to do this on our homeland? And you don't think about the decisions because you're taking them case by case. You don't think about the overarching decision until it all starts to come together, and you're like, oh geez, like I did allow that alien race to own 50% of any planet that happens to dock in their stations. Didn't think that,
This is like courtroom drama on an interspatial scale. Like, I love it. This is cool.
It's hilarious. Recommend everyone to try it at least once.
Do you know if you go? Is there like decision trees where if you choose the other way, then there's going to be fallout?
Yes.
Is that that's awesome?
There's
I love it when they do games like that.
Multiple outcomes for this, and every alien race too. They all come with a representative, each with a really unique personality. And some of them are designed to piss you off, but you realize the ones that are designed to make you mad, they're only really mad because the previous judge before you did them dirty. They didn't do them justice, so they're angry about that.
They resent the system. Yeah,
they're the ones that are correct in what they want, but the way they're going about it just makes you just want to like kick them out the door. It's like, who do you think you are? Get out of here! I'm going to rule in favor of the other guys.
Part of me hoped it would be like Night Court a little bit. I don't know if you guys remember that sitcom from the 80s. I used to like stay up and watch that.
That's a good show.
Space Night Court. That would be the sequel.
Just give me Night Court. Just give me Night Court, the game, and pixel art. I'd play that.
I have also been playing a court game.
Oh, you've been in the courtroom too, huh?
I have been. I've been playing Ace Attorney, the trilogy.
Throwing down the gavel every once in a while? How does that work?
Throwing down the gavel. So, for those that are new to the show, we do a thing called the Backlog Challenge because we are also busy dads. And episode 40, if you go back and listen to that, we had a trial of council of members choose what games we have to beat and play this year and write 1,200 to 1,800 word reviews on. And I chose to do a whole trilogy because I'm stupid as one, but also because I wanted to see what Ace Attorney was about. Because I'm an anime lover and I love like a court procedural. And the game so far is really fun. A lot of Luigi Mansion still from last time. I've been playing that with my son and I'm enjoying that. But this is my like grown-up time game. I was able to sit and watch the rest of Cobra Kai and play it. Like I can chill and put in a podcast or do whatever and play this game. But the mechanics of it are really fun. I was actually really surprised at how it works and how detailed it is.
Yeah. I used to have it for PSP. So that's a great
nice.
Game.
Yeah. I had played the Miles Edgeworth version years ago on the DS. And I was like, this isn't Phoenix Wright. Who's this guy? And then you find out when you play Phoenix Wright, it's like his rival prosecutor. And I was like, oh, okay, that's how they know each other. Because I never got too far into it, but I really like how the mechanics work. So it's not just like you're in court. You have to play detective. I was looking up the genre of it, and it's an adventure visual novel, is what they call it. And in between acts, or in between, so usually there's like 3 court sessions. There's day 1 in the court, day 2, day 3, and depending on the act, an incident will happen. Someone gets murdered. That's been the theme so far. I'm only on the first 3 cases, and there's been a death in every single one. So I'm gonna go with that's the theme.
Spoilers! Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I'm not telling you who it is, but you have to like, investigate the scene, right? You look for clues, and then you go back to a room and you talk to someone, and with your new information, and it gives you maybe something you can bring into court as evidence. In the courtroom, I don't want to say interrogate. Interrogate's not the right word, right? You hear a witness proceed their case, and then you press them for information, and then you have to find contradictions. What I like about it is there's consequences for if you're wrong, and that you get there's a little blue life bar in the corner, and if you present the wrong evidence or make a bad choice, it'll make that life bar go down, and you get a game over. So you have to start from that point, your last save point on, again, and it helps you kind of eliminate, okay, I'm not going to do that when I said that. Like, I have a lead. I know to interrogate this character on the question about where he was or why was left right to him when the person fell to the left of the room and he's saying right. So you have to be the murderer because you saw it forward, right? There's little contradictions like that. I got to play all 3. So I'm a little in over my head. I'm not going to drop it. But it's nice that I can just sit and do it, and I can have music in, I can catch up on other things. It's really fun.
That's cool. So is it voice acted, or are you reading a lot of the text?
No voice acting. The only voice acting is objection, or take that! Like, he has a couple catchphrases. I think this game, I haven't played any of the newer entries. I know there's one on the 3DS. I would love to see a voice acted game for it, because I think, like, these games kind of make me think of the Telltale series, how where they've gone and you make a choice, choose your own adventure. This is where that genre needs to go if they just made it a voice acted experience. Because it's for anime fans. There's a lot of anime tropes. There's characters that act like every anime character that you can think of. And I think the voice acting is what it needs. When do you think that... So you played it on PSP. So when do you think Ace Attorney came out?
Oh, man. 10 years ago?
Yeah, it was years ago.
I'm going to say longer. A lot longer.
Where did Ace Attorney first come out? That feels like a DS game to me.
Maybe like 16 years ago?
A little more. Little further south.
Oh, geez. That's deep.
Yeah, that is really deep. My goodness.
It was 2001.
Oh, wow. 20 years old.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Does it feel like it's aged? Does it feel like it's hard to get into because it's so old?
Well, it was a Game Boy Advance game, and then it went to DS. So, no, because it's a procedural, so it's a text-based thing, right? The mechanics aren't anything crazy. It's like, press this. There's things they could add to a remastered version that they benefit from. It's interesting because of the trilogy, and later when I do my full review, I'll talk about price point with it. But I can tell you right now, if you could get the whole trilogy for $15 and you like to just have something to chill on, it would be a good deal.
Have you guys ever seen Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law?
Yes, love Harvey
yes.
Birdman.
Love
Big fan.
an Ace Attorney series, but with the Harvey Birdman characters, all the Hanna-Barbera characters.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great.
I'd play that on stream as much as possible.
Give me that and a Space Ghost game of some sort, and we're good. Where you have to build a show.
Space Ghost can be the judge.
Ah, that'd be great. I love Space
Or
Ghost.
he can interview, the prosecutor after they've won the case. That'd be great.
That'd be great. Give me Space Ghost. Give me new Space Ghosts. How about that?
He can do the news on the case in between every day. I'd be fine with that.
Yes, I would pay top dollar. That would be a AAA title to me. I'd pay $60.
Yeah. And speaking of casting judgment, I am playing a game where all of the souls that were not so good in life go to live.
Oh.
I am still playing Hades is where is what I've been playing. I'm bouncing between that and AC Valhalla, and Hades is a really good distraction right now. It's one of those just one more runs games that I just can't get enough of. I know we've talked about that on the cast before.
That's my favorite saying in video games, though. Just one more. Because my son says it to me now when he plays a game. I'm like, yeah, every gamer knows. I got one more. That one more. Give me.
Yeah.
Give me. Yeah.
And this game is perfect at dripping you into its ecosystem. Okay. As in, like, every run you do, it gives you a little bit more of a currency, or it gives you a new currency, or it introduces a new shop into the run that you're doing. So as soon as you die on a run, you come back and there's something you can do to increase your ability in the next run. It's masterful. It really is.
How have you beaten it? Have you completed a run? Like, have you gotten...
I have not. I'm getting consistently to the third stage is kind of where I keep landing. And even when I'm switching weapons on the next run, I'm still getting to stage 3. So what I'm learning is that I am understanding the way the game works and the enemy types, and then how to get at those enemies with the different weapons equipped. So it's pretty interesting how everything comes together. I'm really enjoying it. The world is fabulous. It sets you up as a character in Hades. You are the son of Hades, and you can tell that each one of the characters you interact with has history with your protagonist. So you can tell that they have lived in a world together, and their conversations kind of come out of inherited history that you come to unfold and get to know over the course of the game. It's really good. Yeah, so one thing I will say is that the game was really frustrating for me when I was playing it handheld, and I think this may be the game that the joystick drift gets me on, because I just have the slightest drift on one of my joysticks, and it doesn't work. It does not work. The second stage has you like in a place where there's a bunch of lava and basically jumping from island to island, and there's lava on the outside. And I'll like finish a stage, be like, whew, and just like take my hands off the sticks, and then my character will run over into the sea of lava and just like do a life drain.
You gave me such a hard time when we played Cuphead on stream. When I was telling you my controller didn't work, you're like, oh yeah, your controller.
I did.
The drift is horrible. It is not fun at all. It's my biggest complaint with Nintendo.
Yeah. And what I'll say is, as soon as I switched to a Pro controller, the game just
did you find your Pro controller?
It all became better.
Okay,
I did.
good.
Yeah,
That game's so
I
good it
did.
made you find it. That's awesome. That's what it tells
That's right.
me. Okay, good dude.
That's right. I'll also say that when I put it on the big TV, I enjoyed my experience a lot more as well. Like when it was handheld mode, just a little too cramped, a lot going on. The Joy-Cons obviously didn't do me any favors either. But when I got it on a big screen, it seemed to really do well. One thing that I did notice that I think is worth mentioning is I got some stutter in the frame rate once I stacked on a whole bunch of buffs, right? So as you make your way through the game, you're basically stacking on buffs as you go through the different stages. Well, it seemed like I almost had too many stacked onto my character, and it was having trouble chugging with all the different number crunching in the background, and it got a little stuttery on a couple of those stages. I've only seen a handful of times. The gameplay is just so good, and the art is striking. If you haven't checked out the art on this game, it's awesome.
So it wasn't enough to deter your gameplay. It was just like a quick.
No, and it actually surprised me. It was like one run. I'm like, okay, this is really weird. Why is this game stuttering? Is there something that what's going on exactly? And I haven't seen it since, but I imagine it does pop up when you have too much going on in the background.
Good to know. I can tell that you're enjoying that. That's interesting. I'm curious when you'll beat AC Valhalla eventually.
Me too. Like
I gave you that freebie. I gave you a game you already started this year to beat you in our contest. So yeah, the loser, Dad. I'm calling him Dad.
Dad.
The loser has to buy winner's beer when the world opens up. But the other thing is, because we live in Washington State, loser's going to go to Nintendo of America with a sign that says "I suck at video games" and just stand out inside in front of it with it. And it's a race, but it's also not a race because we want to play the games thoroughly, right?
Yeah, we want to enjoy our experience.
Content.
Yeah,
we want to enjoy our experience, but
I'm feeling like the sign might be mine this year. I think it might be me.
Big talk. I love it.
Yeah. I think that's it for games. I think maybe we should move on to the news.
Yeah, let's do it. It's the news.
The big three news.
The big three news stories of the week that we just picked out of a grouping of headlines. And the first story we have is video games surpass music to represent youth. Casey, you want to take this one? You want me to?
Yeah, I'll take this one. This one is definitely clickbaity, but I really liked it because I think it's a good conversation piece. Morning Consultants, a consumer intelligence firm, reported that controversial YouTube star PewDiePie, very controversial he is, had the same name recognition as higher favorability than super athlete LeBron James, which when I read that, I was stunned. Because basketball has a huge global reach compared to a lot of other American sports. The gaming industry revenue at $139 billion, with my pinky like Dr. Evil to my mouth, has outstriped the NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL combined. And the lockdown obviously helped this. And then across music and fashion, culture leaders have taken notes, producing gamer ball, cultural products inspired by aesthetic ecosystems. Like I know there's a really nice high-end shirt company that makes these Pokemon shirts, where you can get a fabric and it's a dress shirt. I've been trying to convince my wife to let me get a Polyrath one or Arcanine one. But I think this is very true. And we kind of talked about it when we were talking about hipster GameStops are for hipsters, right? When we were having that talk. That this is our generation's like, hey, listen to this song. I'm going to say to my son, hey, play this game, right? This is where it's going. Because of the impact that those games had on my development as a human. Right, and I just see it. I think the medium's getting more and more respect, and I love to see that.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're comparing LeBron James to PewDiePie and
PewDiePie.
Yeah, PewDiePie.
You boomer!
Is my boomer color showing right now?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
no!
Grandpa. Okay.
But I remember PewDiePie was listed as a suggested YouTube channel like 10, 15, 20 years ago, it feels like. Right right when YouTube was hitting the map, it feels like he was one of those individuals that you'd send new subscriptions to.
Right. Because he was a Minecraft guy, and then he would do the jump scares. I never liked him. I was like, who's this weird? He's like, and he says a lot of stupid stuff.
He sure does. He sure does.
Yeah, he's not, and he doesn't apologize for it.
Didn't
and
like the whole most handsome face or something like that of 2020?
He got most handsome face?
Yeah, he won the most handsome face of 2020.
Have they looked at his face?
You know who he beat? You're not going to believe this. He beat out a K-pop star, which that's, K-pop star won in 2019,
what?
so that's fine. But who he beat out was, you got to hear this one. He beat out Chris Hemsworth, who came in, I think, 3rd place, and Superman himself came in
What?
at 4th.
The Witcher.
Yes,
Superman?
The Witcher Superman. That's right.
What? Why can't I say his name right now? I'm so stunned. PewDiePie. If you haven't seen him, I would just
Peter Yelberg or
That's his
Kjellberg?
real name?
Yeah, Kjellberg.
Okay. Yeah, I would describe his face as maybe someone hit it with a rolling pin. Like, it looks really flat. I would not ever describe him as handsome.
Wait, was this People's Choice? This had to be People's Choice, right?
No, it's not People's. It's like this.
What?
It's like this international ranking magazine / website that does it every year.
Henry Cavill. That's what it is.
Yes, Henry Cavill. Henry
Cavill.
He's Sherlock's home too in Enola Holmes. He's a handsome man.
He beat Thor and Superman. Thor, Superman / The Witcher / Sherlock Holmes. How in the world did PewDiePie? To this day, I will never understand that.
No. And if you include personality, he's even uglier. Like, no.
And you thought the weird things of 2020 were behind us.
If anything, and that happened right at the end of 2022, like December 29th or December 30th, right? If anything, just stamped 2020 and say the year is done. It was PewDiePie wins most handsome face.
Accurate for 2020. I will give PewDiePie credit. He did do one of my favorite episodes of South Park when they're streaming and there's something there and like South Park makes a joke about how popular he is. But that's more credit to South Park. But as video games as a whole, I feel like I'm an educator. I work with kids. I'm a teacher. And YouTubers definitely have a big reach, but now like Twitch is super huge. And I feel like just hearing where the culture, I think the video games have opened up other stuff because when I was younger, anime, people liked it, but it was kind of like not the cool kids didn't like it. You know what I mean?
It was a closeted hobby.
Now everybody loves it. Every kid thinks anime is cool. Every kid talked to me about anime, and I'm like, when did I wake up in? And because I'm a grown up that knows about anime, I'm by association cool. So I was like, this is insane to me.
I used to have to buy tapes. Like I used to have to go to comic book shops and buy tapes and then put them in my book bag so nobody saw that I had a plastic bag with tapes that had like black and white labels printed on the outside that said like Dragon Ball Z episodes 46 to 49 on it.
Right. See, Sailor Moon maybe by accident. What I watch in the morning is what I watch, guys. Yeah. No,
Well, it'll come back around. You just wait. There's going to be relaunches to all of those different animes. I guarantee it.
The thing is, my VHSs are probably going to be worth a ton because of the original recordings on VHS. For sure. Whoever has a VCR still. Yeah.
That's awesome.
You know what? Every once in a while, you got to bring things back, which brings us to our next story: the return of Lucasfilm Games. Yes. That's right. Lucasfilm Games brand is coming back to a new home for all in video game properties, where this includes Star Wars titles and beyond. So Lucasfilm Games is back and rebranded LucasArts in the 1990s. This is cool. I'm ready to see this stuff come back.
Well, they were hinting at an Indiana Jones game today. That was on the internet this week. And when they say and beyond, I'm like, okay, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and then Howard the Duck? Am I going to get a Howard the Duck game?
I wouldn't hold your breath on Howard the Duck.
I want Monkey Island.
Oh, that's right. They did do Monkey Island, didn't they?
Because the last 3D game was horrible. It was like a Telltale series too. It wasn't LucasArts. But I want them to bring back Monkey Island with today's graphics and all the insane humor. If you guys have never played Monkey Island, you need to stop what you're doing.
Okay. All right, we're in the podcast.
Monkey
Let's
Island
go.
1 and 2 are two of the best / funniest games you will ever play in your lifetime. They still hold up today, and it's about pirates. Come on, it's about a wannabe pirate that is trying to save his wannabe girlfriend or someone he wants to be his girlfriend from a zombie pirate. And this was in the 80s. That was the plot. So you already know it's great.
It's a game that I know is beloved by so many of my friends. That everybody that I know that played it I've never heard like, it's bad. Like everyone's like, it's good, it's fun, it's funny. I've heard that. That didn't even go on my radar. I was just more thinking, okay, how is Disney going to get to pause on this? And does that mean EA doesn't make the games anymore? But then they said they're still going to let publishers publish, and so EA can still ruin the franchise, I guess.
Well, I mean, if EA actually has something good in the pipeline, it's going to hopefully turn something out. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought Jedi Fallen Order was a step in the right
Yeah,
direction for
Fallen Order
them.
wasn't bad.
Yeah, if they stub their toe like they did on Battlefront 2 again, which they won't, because let's face it, they really messed up that.
Well, Battlefront 2 had a way better story mode than I thought, but everything else was,
Right.
Yeah, and I didn't play it, to be honest with you, but the critics were so negative on it because of the microtransactions that the word of mouth on it was not good. But you're the second person to tell me in just recent memory that the storyline was really good.
The story's fantastic, but everybody wanted the game for its online. And they
Right.
neglected to really feature this, but the story is so well told. I just don't feel like paying $19.99 just so I can have a different Yoda outfit. But hey.
And okay, Battlefront 2 came out the same year as PUBG, right?
That sounds right.
I feel like
Maybe not.
in 2017, 2018.
I feel like PUBG was released before that though, wasn't it?
I think it's a beta. So PUBG was 2016 and got really big. And then Fortnite came out in 2017. I should have known.
So PUBG probably came out during Battlefront 1.
Yeah. And I think what really killed Battlefront and that whole thing is Fortnite and PUBG showed this free-to-play model that is accessible, and that's what people want with shooting. Like, look at what they've done with Call of Duty. And that's where the shooter genre is definitely going to go in my mind. And I want more cool Star Wars. Like, I would love, Disney's making 10 different they're going to have 30 hours of Star Wars content and Marvel content. I would love Han Solo to get a game. I would love Mace Windu, please sign me up. Like, give me some cool Jedi
to come out with a Mace Windu series. Like, that is just that's money
Yeah.
on the table. And Samuel L. Jackson, he is getting older, so you're gonna have to recast that role real soon.
And who would you pick? If it was a young Mace Windu? I don't know. I would like that story too.
You know what's tough about that? You need somebody who's got those like Sam Jackson inflections in his voice, and he's like such a league of his own that you either have to go to like a comedian, which would totally kill the role, or you have to go to like an Idris Elba just because it's Idris Elba.
Go hard
to be like a young Mace Windu. And I don't know. I think Sam Jackson, he is Mace, so it should be him.
And he'd be totally down for it right now too. If he could come back and reprise his role, he would be in moments.
De-age his skin and he'll be fine. He doesn't have to do any of his own stunts. As a matter of fact, you can animate it and he could just do the voice and you'd be fine.
Yeah. An animated series, I'd be okay with that.
I think the Clone Wars series was the best thing a Star Wars ever came out with since the original trilogy.
I'm the resident Star Wars hater here, and not that I'm a hater. I don't dislike it. It's okay. I'm the most indifferent to it, and Clone Wars is good, and the original trilogy is good too. Anything else in between, I'm not really interested in.
Oh, give Phantom Menace the pod race. That was definitely unique.
That is the worst scene in movies, sir. I'm sorry. We're gonna have to have a hard disagreement here.
Oh, no way.
That scene is 10 minutes long.
The worst scene in film history? Okay.
In my mind, there's nothing going on for 10 minutes. You're just hearing, yeah. There's no talking. There's no dialogue. There's no, anything going on.
Where was your inner child during that? I mean, that was a wonderful scene.
I didn't know better. I'm talking about recently watching it.
Oh yeah. It was a race. It defined Anakin as a good pilot since he was a youth. The only good things about the Phantom Menace were that scene to me and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon versus Darth Maul. Those are the only two good things about everything else.
The double-ended lightsaber. That I will give you that. That was cool.
And of course, midichlorians. I mean, that was probably my favorite part of the entire series.
Midichlorians. Without midichlorians, Star Wars would not be a thing. So
I mean, I can only agree with that. That's for sure.
So I'm a science teacher, and when I talk about mitochondria, you do not understand how often I get asked about midichlorians by the Star Wars nerdy kids. Or a kid will say something, I go, this has nothing to do with Star Wars. If I say something, if a kid asks me about mitochondria or something and say it wrong.
I feel like one of your students is like, you're saying it wrong.
I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. It's not mitochondria.
Actually, it's metachlorians, Mr. Willow.
No. Yeah. Well, I think that brings us into our final story. So Lucas Games, I'm cool with the title. I want good games. But you know who does make good games is Square Enix. And they have big trademarks that just came out in Japan recently. And the trademarks are Forever Crisis, the Shinra logo, and the title The First Soldier. So now, Shelby, you never played Final Fantasy 7, correct?
No. I mean, I played it back in the day, but I did not get through it.
Okay. Dad, what about you?
Oh, of course I played that. Yeah, I remember I spent a whole weekend, no sleep, 48 hours straight.
Whoa, that's where it started. So you've just evolved that way of thinking into adulthood. I love it.
Gamer long before that. So my brother and I, we go at this all the time. He thinks Final Fantasy VII is the best of all time. I think Final Fantasy VIII is the best of all time.
Ooh.
With 10 being like a close like third place.
10's got the best minigame.
Blitzball
is fantastic.
I will give you that.
Great.
Yeah.
But 8 had that card game, and I love Yu-Gi-Oh! So on some of my streams, I play Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links because I'm pretty good at Yu-Gi-Oh!
Okay.
And that triad game that they had in Final Fantasy VIII, like I would spend hours just trying to find these cards to play it. And then it was like, you know what it feels like? If you've ever played The Witcher, it's like Glint. It's like the first version of Glint.
Oh, yeah. It
is. Final Fantasy 9 has a really good card game too.
Yeah.
That I think gets put on. 8's is a little bit better, but 9. I'm a Final Fantasy 9 and 6 would probably be like my two I'd hang my hat on.
I mean, 6 is with what, Kefka as the final boss?
Yeah, greatest villain ever.
Yeah.
I think in Final Fantasy, like Sephiroth's good, but Kefka takes his lunch money every time.
Have you guys played Crisis Core? I actually enjoy Crisis Core.
Crisis Core, that's where I was just going to lead. Thank you for that. So that the title that they have the register, the Ever Crisis, has to maybe be a sequel to Crisis Core in my mind, and that's what's going on in the internet. And Crisis Core is a story about the person who trained for you, Shelby, Zach. He trained Cloud, and there's a whole convoluted storyline with that in the original 7. And I would love more Crisis Core, and I would love a Sephiroth backstory. To be honest with you, if that's what First Soldier's about.
Yeah,
sure.
Like Crisis Core. When I played 7, I will be honest, as a kid, or I can't even say I was a teenager when that game came out, but as a teen, I remember because I played 8 first before 7, but I had 7, and I gave it to my brother, and then he gave it back to me to play. But I remember when I played 7, I was like, I feel like I'm playing as the villains, because this is like some very weird like militia group that I'm a part of.
The resistance, right? The Avalanche of the resistance.
And they didn't really feel like, I felt like a bunch of people just got together and it was like, hey, you want to blow some stuff up? Yeah, sure, no problem, let's go. And I had a very angsty main character who didn't know where he was half the time, it felt like. But with Crisis Core got Zach as a character so perfect that it makes you go, Cloud who? Like you don't even like Cloud by the end of that game for what Cloud represents. And in terms of, I can't give it away, but in terms of what Zach and their relationship, for what Cloud represents, you don't like. You'll end up going, oh God, I knew it. I knew there was something about this guy I didn't like.
And the other thing with what they've done with the remake now, and how there's these different timelines and what's going on and the possibility there, I like the move Square's doing. I just want to know when Part 2 of the remake is going to come out. That's cool that you guys trademark that. Give me a timeline. It doesn't have to be a hard date. Yeah. But I like the moves they're making, and I love Squaresoft, so kudos to them.
Speaking of news, did you guys hear the news from Rockstar?
Oh, GTA 6!
The first female lead, Grand Theft Auto 6.
Whoa, that is great news. GTA 6, huh? I thought for sure we would never hear another GTA sequel was going to be announced.
I was kind of in that camp too because of how big the online is. Because I really want to see the numbers because people still buy it, but I wish they would put out they'll never will, of how many people are actually doing the campaign versus playing the online.
Yeah, because online has its own campaign. I remember one of my first streams, I played that game, and wow, much to my chagrin, because I did not realize how toxic that online community was. But I remember like I was just driving around and there was like an arcade, which was not in the main game. So I was like, arcade? Come on, 80s kid. I love that. I go into the arcade and there's like 4 or 5 games in there, and they're pretty much full-fledged, like pixelated 16-bit or 8-bit games that you can play at this open arcade. And it's got like hours of operation in this world. And I was like, okay, I can see why people sit here all day. And this is like another Fortnite / Minecraft.
It's the evolution of the sandbox. I figured that's what they're gonna. It's just gonna be that now, and maybe maybe they're gonna make a new GTA Online, or maybe it connects to GTA Online, and then GTA Online gets like a graphics update.
They just need to do. So I think what one of the thought processes are like every GTA after 5, there's going to be a different part either of the world or America. And if you own all the discs for the online thing, you'll be probably able to download like an expansion because of your saves, and you'll be able to travel from like one. So there's like San Andreas you can travel to, and then maybe like Liberty City, which is like New York in the tri-state area where I'm from. And then it'll probably be like a London because, let's face it, London is where it started. That started at the entire series.
Yeah.
And then they'll probably go to like, they'll pick like a fourth area that hasn't been tapped yet for them. That's got rich culture.
For sure.
Like
For
maybe
sure.
like a Tokyo, because Sleeping Dogs kind of tried to do it.
No, Sleeping Dogs did a different thing, and Sleeping Dogs is a phenomenal game.
Mm-hmm.
Tip my hat to you, sir. I love that game.
Sleeping
Yeah,
Dogs
that game is
one of my
fantastic.
favorites.
It feels like Tokyo GTA, but not.
It is.
It was the sequel to True Crime or whatever that game was that came out. And one of my favorite things about that game is GSP, George St. Pierre, was brought in because they couldn't figure out how to do this spinning back kick in the air. And like there's a whole thing on it where like he's with their crew and they're like, oh, we've been lifelong martial artists, but we can't figure out how to land this. He's like, oh, you're making him jump off the wrong foot. It was so cool. It was like martial arts nerd to a T. But that game's so good. And GTA 6, I'm surprised. They didn't give a date, did they?
There's no way. Yeah, and there's no way. And I don't know if this is a mock-up from a news outlet or not, but what I'm looking at, it looks like it's Vegas, but I doubt they've released where it's located. So I think this is just clickbait, is what it feels like.
If they do Vegas, then that will be an homage to GTA 3 San Andreas, where you could travel between Mock San Francisco, Mock Oakland, and Mock Vegas. So that could be something, because that would be a very easy expansion to add on to the San Andreas sandbox.
Yeah, San Andreas is my favorite GTA.
Yeah, oh yeah, the GTA 3 San Andreas, because of everything. You eat food, work out, throw up,
get swole.
You can take a flight. You could purchase a ticket for a flight, or you can hijack a plane yourself and fly and land it on the landing strip, or go to Area 51. Like, there was so much you can do with that game. Oh, such a good game.
Yeah, and then it feels like that other series kind of broke off and went in that same vein. Saints Row. Saints Row got just as zany and just kind of went over the top with it, whereas GTA 5 kind of came back to reality. Or I guess it would have been GTA 3 and 4 that came back to reality.
Yeah, I would say 4. Vice City was
I really like the territory map in San Andreas too, like where you try to take over the entire neighborhood. Yeah,
yes, with they did a lot of fun things. Well, I think we're going to move to our final segment, and that's our random question. So the first question, I was just thinking about this today, because we're all dads, and you talked about your kids, and I was like, my son was making a joke. He's like, Tylee, my father-in-law, is like, well, I got to get my YouTube channel ready. I have 12,000 viewers. And my father-in-law was like, does he? What are you talking about? Because he kind of cares about the podcast. We have a guest coming on that I mentioned something about that he's obsessed with. And he was like, what? And he's like, I'm actually going to listen to your podcast, Dad. That made me like laugh, because like, oh, you dissed me, but at the same time, you're proud of me. So, but I was kind of curious, because my wife, I said, well, if I recorded something with him or with our daughter, would you? And she's like, no. She's very anti, because they're too little. I kind of get it. But what age do you guys feel comfortable letting your kids, if they said to you, I want to start streaming, or I want to make a podcast, like what do you guys think? How old would you let your kids be to roam the web?
I wouldn't let my kids stream until they finished high school. Like they can game, but streaming, if you're going to stream just to play games, I would say don't stream, just play games. If you're streaming to make friends, you don't have to do that. You can watch streams and play with the viewers that are there and make friends that way. Streaming is its own business, and it requires a lot more attention than people think.
Yeah.
And there's a huge mental aspect to it. There's a lot of people who suffer from mental anxieties just because of streaming, because of what it does to the value of the individual.
Right.
And I wouldn't want them to go through that. Podcasting, they can sure as hell do. Like the moment that they can understand the difference between mitochondria and midichlorians, they can podcast.
So never. You're saying they can never do podcasts.
Wait, they are very similar. I'm going to be honest with you. They both kind of have the same functions, so it's a good segue.
See, I would have to know what a midichlorian actually was to know if it was or was not mitochondria. See, that's my problem.
George Lucas said on that script, he was like, yeah, the thing that, the thing that makes up humans, what is it called? The midichlorians? But he probably meant mitochondria. And somebody was just like, yeah, sure, George. Whatever you say.
We got you, George. We figured you out, George. We got you.
Oh, he just makes up words. I get it. No, I think a podcast, or if my son wanted to make a YouTube channel where he's not live on camera and he did reviews of food or game or something he was passionate about, I'd be more okay with that at high school, as long as it didn't affect his schooling, you know? But like you said, I go back to the mental anxiety aspect. I want my son to be, and my daughter, if she's interested in it too, because she's only 2, I don't even think about that with her yet. I want them to be strong in who they are, in their self, right? To know, like, hey, this is a process and this doesn't equate to my happiness type thing. Because I think a lot of those people that get run down or beat down from it is the number of follows and likes is their happiness meter, right? Which is not healthy. And and you see it with kids. Like, I see young girl out, like, I teach 6th grade. And I'm like, you let your kids have all these apps? Like you wouldn't? I'm like, absolutely not. Like, this is why your kids get in trouble, because you can't trust them on the internet. And I don't know. I feel like with my daughter, I'm way more protective. But that's how it is, I guess. Like, boys, he'll be fine. But I don't want my daughter ever to be on the internet. What about you, Shelby?
I think that they'd have to be able to actually fathom what's going on, and I would want to vet almost everything that goes out. One thing that really scares me about this next generation coming up, and we kind of had it when we were coming up a little bit, but it's even more significant now, is if you say something out of line and it goes viral, it can really ruin your reputation on the internet.
Yeah.
And that would be what I would be most fearful of. Is like, even we kind of mentioned PewDiePie earlier as well. I can't say it. I'm never going to say it right. It is what it is. I'm old. But I mean, like, we all know that he has a legacy of saying some really ugly things over the course of his career, to the point where sometimes you're surprised that he's still broadcasting. But I guess my point there is like, once you say something on the internet, it's hard to bury it right now. So I think that kid really has to fully comprehend the severity of that stream. And I think that kind of leads to the anxiety that you were talking about. That's first time. I think that's really part of it, is the stress that comes along with it. If you can really enjoy yourself, and it can be like, if I could go through and host them in a game, as like, say for example, I wanted to show them Mario for the first time, that could be a fun segment. There, even to some extent, like, I want to protect that kid's identity if they don't want to go to the internet like that. And furthermore, I don't want to put them in a place where they're going to hurt for future employment or friendships or relationship building.
Right. It's a hard balance.
Yeah, like I'll tell you, 90 to 95% of the messages I get, on a daily basis, are Twitch streamers or content creators who they're reaching out because they feel mentally devalued because of like the statistics. And coming from a business world, because I'm a manager full time. I've managed businesses for years right now, and I'm a manager right now of a luxury fitness brand. And I have to keep telling people, like, you can't look at it day to day. You can't look at it week to week. You can't even technically look at it over a 30-day period. You have to do it quarterly first, to measure your quarters, to understand what the seasons are like, and understand the seasons on Twitch are different than business seasons, and then year to date. And if you don't see year-to-date growth, that's when you can take a look and say, okay, what am I doing wrong? Everything else other than that is you're testing the waters, and there's too many variables for content creators doing a live format. Like, if you're gonna do anything, I tell everyone, especially like nowadays, I tell everyone, use Twitch as a way to bring your audience from another platform where your content it sits there 24 hours, it's binge worthy. Bring that audience to Twitch and make it be like, hey, come hang out with me. Let's come hang out with me. Let's talk about this. Come hang out with me while I play this. And, just tell me what you think. Yada, yada. So it's a way for people to interact with the personality live every so often, but they prefer that quick, short content that they get on YouTube or Instagram or Twitter, or whatever it is. They prefer that because that's where the following came from. And I think people are doing the opposite. They're using all other social medias to drive traffic towards Twitch rather than
to everything else. It's a balance act. I think about it a lot, because like Shelby, he knows I'm the one who puts it all together and looks right. Like, I'm the engineer, and then my whole concept is, then though, Shelby also, like, I'll beat myself up and Shelby always brings me up. That's like what's a good pairing. And I think too, part of it is just the continuity and continuing and not giving up. And you could be, there's a Gamertag Radio. I like listening to them. He's been at it for 15 years, and this year he blew up. He did a big interview with Keanu Reeves for Cyberpunk 2077. And I think just time. And if people find you, they find you. If they like you, they like you. And it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like, would I love to do this more? Sure. But I like teaching a lot. And I like just having conversations with dudes like you and Shelby. It's fun. And I'd be scared that my kid I wouldn't, if they had a degree and they went at it from like a broadcasting point and they went, I want to do a YouTube channel about this, or I want to do this for a living, I would be supportive as an adult, but I'd want to know, okay, what else are you doing, and what are your plans, and do you have, you know what I mean? But I don't think a 10-year-old should be doing it unless you're Ryan's World. That kid's crazy.
Yeah, like I think it's more important for you. I would rather build 4 to 5 everlasting relationships than 5,000 superficial ones. So
yes,
I think it just boils down to when you're doing something, you have to put in a lot of time, but focus on focus less on the stats and focus more on like
what's
who
real.
You are, what's real, what you're bringing to the table, and what you love to do. People love to see your passions. They don't love to see what you think they want you to, or what you think they want to see. They want to see you do what you love.
Yeah, they want you to be your authentic self. Like me and you hiding our anime as kids. We didn't need to do that. We should have been our authentic self.
Remember when playing video games was the not cool thing too, growing up?
See, no, my dad worked for Nintendo, so my dad. This is my thing. Everyone thought I was cool because my dad worked for Nintendo, and I got all the games before everybody. But actually, you know what it was? And I always joke about this. People would come out to hang out with my dad, and then they'd just ignore me, and they'd be like, oh, who's my real friends, right? But that leads us to our last random question in childhood. And we kind of talked about it, and we went all over it in the show. What's something you wish they would bring back from your childhood? We talked about Space Ghost. I think we're all in agreement there. And Harvey Birdman. That's more of my teen years. But what's something else? And that made me think of this today I was thinking about Squeeze-Its. And I know they're horrible for you, but I used to love a Squeeze-It as a kid. And ectoplasm coolers from McDonald's. The high C.
Ectoplasm coolers. I thought that thing was around forever. I felt like it would never go out of style in the grocery store. Then one day it just disappeared.
I know. Sad day. I would buy a stock. I'd buy stock in it if it came back. Put it in my veins.
Oh my gosh. I feel like everything is being brought back from our childhood. Like, this is a hard question because they've really mined my nostalgia, it feels like.
Man, there's no original ideas anymore. They're going to the era that made the most sense in terms of entertainment, and they're just rehashing and rebranding.
And they're going to who has the money now. Oh, those kids are adults now, so let's go hit their pockets for their nostalgia.
Because our generation was the one that watched the most TV, so and we watched the most movies. So they're like, well, they're the ones that have the money now.
So they relaunched Animaniacs, and I watched an episode or two, and I'm like, this is pretty good. This is exactly what I want from a nostalgia trip.
Correct, but it's pretty damn good.
It is.
Dot feels very feminist now, but she still is Dot.
For sure, yeah, I think it fits. Like, okay, yeah, I can roll with this. I will say that based on the story that we covered today, I would say that if they could relaunch KOTOR in terms of Lucas Games, I would be all over that. If you would do a RPG in the Star Wars universe, I think that would be amazing. Like, bring that back from my childhood. I'd love to see that remastered.
If we're going games, I want Super Mario 7-Star Saga redone. I want Square Enix to redo that one.
Is this the RPG?
Yes.
This is the RPG.
Yeah, that's the one on the Super Nintendo with Malo and Gino, and that one. I want that redone. That would be my yes, please. Here's all my money.
If we're going games, I absolutely want a fun, interactive wrestling game again. It's gotten so sim based and so boring. Mm-hmm. I want something that's it doesn't have to be over the top. I don't need to be throwing people into space and hitting them with cars and and water blasts and all that. I just want a fun wrestling game that focuses on the personality of the characters. It can have a text-based story. I don't need them to talk to me. Half of them can't even talk today anyway. They're horrible on the mic. But give me a text-based story based on previous events, current events, posted. You can do so much with a text-based adventure. Give me a bunch of those and just fun wrestling games, and I would pump hours upon hours. I'd be a kid again. I would have my kids sit in my lap and have one control the joystick and the other one control the buttons, and just let's go at it.
I would also take a can of Surge if they could redo that as well.
I like how he had this nice endearing moment. You're like, in Surge. But do you remember when they used to sell that at school?
No, but why wouldn't they? I mean, those kids need energy, man. That's just science.
Those kids need Monster energy drinks at school. Like, kids would get in fights over them, because they'd be all hopped up on Surge.
How do you think they found Anakin? He had just chugged a Surge. He had shotgunned a Surge, and then his metachlorian levels were off the charts.
That's what got his metachlorians up.
I remember Futurama did like a mock episode, like a Willy Wonka version of it.
Yes. And the slug, Slurm, and he wants to party. Yes, that's a great.
I remember that.
Yes, that's a great Slurm. Well, I think that's it for the night.
Yeah, and I think I have one more question for you, Dad's First Time. We're trying to bring some of these interviews to a close by asking, is there any game that comes to mind for you in terms of a game we should add to our backlog, a must-play, one of your favorite games?
Monkey Island 1 and 2, bar none.
Monkey Island 1 and 2.
Perfect. Shelby's making that list. We'll put it down at the bottom here.
There we go.
I can guarantee you both will not regret it. You will love it. It will probably be one of the most memorable games you will ever play in your lifetime.
Wow. Okay. Bold. All right. So when we play it, we'll have you back on. All right. And you can come back and talk to us.
I love it. So Dad's First Time, where can people find more of your content?
Oh, all right. So you can find me on Twitch for all of my live programming and live shows, twitch.tv/Dad's First Time. You can find me on Instagram for my memes, jokes, behind the scenes looks, outtakes, and more at Dad's First Time. You can find my musings, my polls, my thought process, and any special events or any entries for my YouTube videos on Twitter at Dad's First Time, or you can find me on YouTube for my unpopular opinions, my overtime highlight show, and more stream coaching at Dad's First Time.
Nice. Very cool. Well, thanks for being on with us tonight. It's been fun.
It's been a blast. Thank you. I hope to come back soon.
Definitely.
We'll have you back. For sure.
And a big thank you to all those out there listening. If you'd like more from the Underpowered team, you can follow us on our social channels. It's all in the attached description if you'd like to preview it there. We also have a website up and running. It's underpoweredmedia.com. Check us out there. We're also chatting in Discord. Feel free to drop us a line. Feel free to leave us a review if you'd like to as well. 5 stars, please. And that wraps the week for us. We are out.
Play your games.